'Twas the night before Christmas, when all through the basement not a creature was stirring, because no animal rhymes with basement. Welcome to a special edition of Next, featuring some of our most memorable stories from the last year. A year where, for better but mostly for worse, there was no shortage of memorable. Also, can I let you in on a little behind-the-scenes thing here? We're bringing you some of our favorite stories again, in part so that our next team can spend Christmas Eve at home with their families as well. So tonight, we celebrate Coloradans' resilience in a tough year. Some moments that had us shaking our heads together, and scenes that made us grateful to live in this wonderful state. If there had been no pandemic this year, more seats would be filled at holiday tables, and quite likely Coloradans would be talking about what a difficult year this was for wildfires. The two largest fires in state history burned simultaneously, right next to each other. The bigger one, the Cameron Peak Fire, burned 208,000 acres and destroyed more than 200 homes this fall. One couple whose house burned found an unexpected message in the ashes. Here's our Ryan Harrer.
We got married on August 15th, a beautiful elopement type wedding.
Newlyweds Hillary and Josh Embry have had a year of great highs and tough lows.
It was a simple home. It wasn't anything fancy, but it was home. Like, there's nothing more home than what we had there.
The Cameron Peak Fire drove the couple and their pups out of their home near Masonville. The peace and quiet, the towering trees were under attack.
And I just got this gut-wrenching feeling that we might not go home again.
Days later, they returned, confirming the reason for Hillary's gut feeling.
And there was just nothing left.
The Cameron Peak Fire took it all.
It was just really desolate, and the smoke smell was really strong, and it definitely felt like a war zone.
The intensity of this fire became immediately clear. It appeared the flames spared nothing, except for one glimmer of hope, buried in the ashes, the kind of thing that makes you realize not all is lost.
This little mug was fully intact and just under all the rubble. And I think that we both feel like that's a strong message of what's important, and to persevere with each other as a team through all of this and with our community.
It's easy to get caught up in the divisiveness of a year like 2020, but as tragedy often does, this community has been reminded of how similar we can be.
Everybody's dropping all the hate, and they're just gathering together regardless of what walk of life they come from. And I've seen it throughout our whole state. I've seen it personally within our community. We've been overly blessed.
Her home burned to the ground, and she says she's blessed thanks to neighbors who insist on working together and a marriage committed to forever.
To go through something like that together is definitely strengthening.
Hillary says they're still planning to rebuild their home on that same piece of land they love. So I have a shirt from a local brewery that commemorates Denver's prohibition of 2020. It only lasted for about an hour or so. It was when Mayor Michael Hancock announced that there was going to be a citywide stay-home order, and the mayor specifically said that liquor shops and pot shops would have to close down. The reaction was predictable. There was a stampede of people to those stores hoping to get stocked up before the lockdown started. The mayor was forced to pretty quickly backpedal as lines formed across the city outside people's vice of choice. Our Chris Vanderveen and photojournalist Chris Hansen watched it happen.
I mean, it's like perfect image of 2020 pandemic life, I would say.
Let it be said that for some,
The essentials.
Monday afternoon was the moment.
Gotta stock up, man.
The moment the pandemic became real.
Of course, it's weird. I'm 46, haven't seen anything like this, so I don't know.
Bernie McGrew flew to Colorado expecting long lift lines.
I came here expecting to ski.
He didn't expect to wait in this.
Just keeping my distance.
6 feet apart at best, 60 people deep at most.
People are showing their true colors. I guess I'm one of them. So we just gotta do our part.
Ari Snow works at a next-door Starbucks. He says he's getting paid the next 2 weeks to stay home. He won't need a fraction of that time to contemplate the irony of this moment.
Practice social distancing, and here we all are waiting in line to get into the liquor store. So
For 44 years, this store has occupied this spot.
The mayor announced that liquor stores are going to be closing.
Not once has it seen a day anything like this.
We still have employees to pay. You know, I don't want to let them down. They have to eat, and as a small business, it hurts.
By late afternoon, the city relented, but not after a potent shot of reality hit its residents, like a bad hangover.
People are more prone to actually be affected by it once it's on their doorstep and once it's actually affecting their way of life.
Cheers. You guys have fun?
2020 also saw Denver's most sustained street protests in decades, some of the largest and most intense seen this summer across America, as the entire nation reacted to the death of George Floyd at the hands of police in Minneapolis. And America learned about the death of Elijah McClain after he was restrained by officers here in Aurora. 2 weeks of nightly protests in Denver. Our Nusha Roy gave us a look through the eyes of some of the youngest people out there.
The signs these 7-year-old brothers held in front of the Capitol are both simple and powerful.
Why are we out here today, guys?
As they try to understand a difficult lesson so young.
Because somebody got hurt, right? And we want to let people know what? What do we want to let people know? It's not okay, and making sure that there's no bias or hate inside of that conversation.
My mom wants me and my brothers to have a better future.
The kids out here today may be young, but have seen a lot, like Taylor Thompson, who's originally from Minneapolis.
My city just burned down, so it kind of hurts.
This is something that's not unfamiliar for me.
It also means they can help us keep perspective. After all, they're protesting for their future.
Stuff like this needs to be on camera too, not just the riots. I think that both should be have like an equal share on the media, because they're both so important. They both have such loud impacts and voices.
When asked what they need to feel safer in their own cities, these young adults know their ask will require patience.
It is so complex, but yet it's so simple. Like, we need people to listen.
Very first step would definitely be for the government to not even apologize, but take responsibility. Like, voice that, yes, we see police brutality, we see it's an issue, and we're trying to work on it. I don't expect change in a day.
They're willing to wait and willing to help their community move in the right direction.
Show more love instead of hate. I can't really control what they do, but I can help them realize that love is stronger than hate.
You know, there were some traditions that we held on to, even during a pandemic and a time of tumult. Hundreds of people came together to salute a Colorado native who served this country and who left this life with no known family and few friends. Our Steve Steger and photojournalist Chris Hansen traveled up to Casper, Wyoming to see that goodbye.
Honor is not sought by those who serve.
A very loving community, very loving. They care a lot about their veterans.
But honor is always shown to those who have earned it.
Casper is just so amazing.
Casper was home to Corporal Ray Barilla.
Everyone has a story. Everyone has a point in time where they were born. They had a family. That story for every person should be told. That's it. And unfortunately, you don't always know the details of that story.
Details. Ray Barilla was a Marine in World War II, a corporal who lived to 101.
He was a sheep herder, and he was a veteran.
It was Joey Caseda's job as funeral director to find Ray's family.
It can be difficult both emotionally and physically to try and locate people.
After 2 weeks of searching, he had no luck.
Those situations are difficult, but unfortunately, it happens.
No family to attend a veteran's funeral.
They deserve that honor. They put their life on hold, served our country, and they deserve the honors that are afforded them when they pass away.
But remember, this is Casper.
My hope for Ray today is that he's just proud, as we are of him.
Mr. Barilla served in World War II from 1942 to 1946.
Honor. Today it could be measured by the lack of seats available in the chapel.
But we here today demonstrate that here in Wyoming, our veterans are never alone.
By the crowds of hundreds outside who stood when they couldn't get in.
If that doesn't bring a tear to your eye, buddy, I don't know. That's amazing.
And by the emotions of the man who knew Ray Barilla best.
Ray was one of my tenants.
Landlord perhaps isn't the best way to describe Randy Knudsen.
Because I was the only family he had.
He watched over Ray in these final years.
I know that he was very recluse. He didn't like to be around people at all.
Randy never expected a crowd like this for his friend who liked to keep to himself.
And Joey and me, we figured we were going to be the only ones here.
But social media spread the word and the photo.
We recognized them in the picture. In the picture, it looks just like my grandpa.
The photo is the reason Randy had company in the front row.
Ray Remigio is my uncle. He's my mom's brother. And we have been looking for him for a long time.
Anita Colon says her Uncle Ray joined the Marines when she was 10 and never returned. She remembers her mother crying, desperately searching for her brother.
I'm feeling overwhelmed. I feel happy. I feel happy because I feel like my mom is happy because she finally found him.
Ray Barilla never sought this kind of attention.
Just amazed. Made me want to cry that there's that many people that cared about somebody that didn't think he had a friend in the world.
But in the end, honor is always shown to those who earn it.
He'd have loved the honor. I think he would have been amazed at all the people that were here.
So many of us learned to treasure family anew this year, even when we had more time at home with them than was always optimal. Two sisters shared their story of their growing family. It was one of our favorite examples of your good news that we shared this year.
Jess and I have been best friends since she was born.
Kelly and I have a very strong bond.
I remember sleeping outside her delivery room door, waiting for the news.
We were always there for each other. She was there for me, and I was there for her.
This time around, not even my daughter could come in to the hospital.
I'm an essential worker in the healthcare field, so I unfortunately don't get to see, my new nephew.
We couldn't have her meet the baby.
I don't want to risk anything, so we just FaceTime and everything, but it's not the same as holding a new baby.
I was sending her pictures of us making a cheesecake, and she said, "Oh, that looks so good. We want some." And I said, "Okay, it's yours."
I was like, "Yeah, I'll just come after work, and you leave it on your doorstep, and I can just pick it up."
I didn't really think about the camera recording her. I just wanted her to see the nephew real fast. And then she broke down and I was crying.
Seeing him so close, and then I can't hug him, and then I can't hug my sister. When I saw him, it took my breath away. He was just so beautiful. And then she was so beautiful too, and I just needed to take a moment.
I love you. I missed you so much. I just want you to be here.
I love you so much too. Can't wait to meet them.
I disappeared for a bit mid-year. Everything was fine. We were welcoming home our second daughter. A somewhat sleep-deprived dad shared these words when I returned to this chair. So we've learned during this pandemic time that you're supposed to wash your hands for as long as it takes to sing Happy Birthday twice. Who are we singing to exactly? I mean, I can't be the only person who kind of hums it in my head while I'm scrubbing my hands, and then you get to the name part and you kind of awkwardly pause each time. That's what I was thinking as I stood at the sink in the hospital. I was washing my hands and singing Happy Birthday. First, to the girl's name that we had picked out if it was a girl, and then singing Happy Birthday to the boy's name that we had chosen if it was a boy. It was, as it turned out, her birthday. The birthday of our second daughter. Born into this year that has already become somewhat of a punchline for all its awfulness. But not for this dad, and not for that girl. 2020 is when she begins her American journey. Her older sister's birth a few years ago got me thinking about parenting as an act of optimism, hopefulness for the future. I remain an optimist, despite the evidence. I believe that this coming century, my girl's century, will be the best time in human history to be a woman. Now, that's not exactly a high bar based on the centuries that came before, but that is my optimistic view of their future, their world. This is not going to happen by accident. It will happen by intention. It will happen by action. Mine and yours and theirs. This is going to be their world, and I can't wait to live in it. When the pandemic hit, Colorado's tourism office launched a new campaign asking people to think of Colorado, but not to come here right now. It was really pretty genius, but the campaign did not have a TV ad, so we made one.
Hey tourists, it's me, Colorado. I know you want to be with me right now, but the time isn't right. If you truly love me, you'll wait. Whether it's our first time or a long-term relationship, it should be special. And it'll be even more special if we're patient. I know you said you'll use protection, but protection doesn't always work. And I don't know where you've been. Tourists, I need you to respect my boundaries. You know how people say, it's not you, it's me? This time it's you. It's totally you. You could have the Rona, and I can't have you bring that around here. What's that? Oh, if you can't be with me, then you're going to get with Nebraska? Oh, well, you enjoy that, all right? Kiss these goodbye and enjoy that. Let's not fight. I want you back. Just not right now. Not paid for by the Colorado Tourism Office, but they can totally use it if they want.
For years, Ed Dwight has made monuments dedicated to celebrating black musicians, activists, and soldiers across America, all people who broke barriers, who paved the way for future generations. Ed Dwight is one of those trailblazers himself. Our Katie Eastman caught up with him.
In a warehouse in North Denver, an artist still works. At age 87, Ed Dwight creates to honor black heroes.
I think the world has settled on me being a sculptor.
He makes monuments dedicated to celebrating black musicians, activists, and soldiers around the country. He celebrates what was and what could have been. A man who knows what it's like when the world won't accept a black man.
Because this was 1961 that I got a letter inviting me to join the astronaut corps.
With President Kennedy as his sponsor, Ed Dwight became the first black astronaut candidate. But in 1963, the man behind his mission was killed, and racism took off instead.
A black or a woman joining this group would make it so offensive to the American public that they wouldn't they wouldn't pay taxes for NASA to be in space.
Even coming in 7th in a class of 17 test pilots wasn't enough, and the first black astronaut candidate never got the job. For decades, the nation forgot, until a New York Times reporter came calling.
And what happened to this black astronaut guy? Well, the guy went away and he disappeared into the ether. Where is he? And so she calls me up.
Last year, this 12-page article caught the attention of the people in charge of the space program today, the ones who have settled on a different world for black astronauts.
And I was told over and over again this was too early. It's too early for anybody black to be doing anything like this, you know.
It shouldn't have been too early, but now the Pentagon is acknowledging that.
I ended up being exonerated, if you will.
He became an honorary Space Force member last week. The sculptor is proud of this honor, but he didn't need it.
I've done so much since then to supplant that.
Ed Dwight will be remembered not for settling for what he never became, but for honoring the men and women who never settled.
One of the most Colorado things we saw all year was a road rage incident involving Colorado who can't even drive. A moose attacked Jake's car near the Switzerland Trail in Boulder County this fall. Jake did not actually see this happen. Guy named Chris did. Chris was a stranger who happened to be nearby. He knew the car's owner probably wouldn't believe what happened unless there was photo proof. So took some video, wrote a note, then crept up to put the note on the car with that moose still nearby.
I was staring to my eye on eye, mano a mano,
as I was walking in to get that note. And I had my running shoes on, so I was getting ready to get out of there if I need to. But he was staring at me the whole time while I was placing that note on the car because he knew that Mercedes was his.
Jake, the guy whose car was damaged, told us that he grew up in Colorado and had never seen a moose in real life. Technically, Jake has still not seen a moose, but what do you say we give him credit for it anyway? If I don't see you here tomorrow night, when we're going to share more stories of hope and laughter from this past year, if I don't see you then, Merry Christmas to you and your family. Christmas Eve is always a night for family. It's a night of anticipation, a night to prepare to celebrate a new birth, something I think that we all surely need about now. Good night. Merry Christmas. See you next time.